Hey there, Ryan Reynolds here. It's a new year, and you know what that means. No, not the diet. Resolutions. A way for us all to try and do a little bit better than we did last year. And my resolution, unlike big wireless, is to not be a raging and raise the price of wireless on you every chance I get. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited. See mintmobile.com for details.
So I think what happened was he went, oh yeah, I kind of want to go and make a movie. And then got some screenwriters in, then got a director in, and got some money for some gory special effects. And, you know, it walks the line of horror and comedy. It also falls into the trap of not really being scary enough to be a horror, not really being funny enough to be a comedy. But it was kitsch and cheesy, and I think it was a love letter to a specific genre of films. And like I said, I'm not going to go to bat for it massively, but I think being a pre-existing Foo Fighters fan certainly helps.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher podcast. Today we're joined by Sean.
Hey everyone, nice to be back.
Helen.
Hello.
And Andy.
Hello.
And we're talking about Studio 666. Thank you as always to the mighty people for their mighty tunes, and thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for editing this podcast. Please do remember to head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and give us an amazing 5-star rating and a glowing review. And join in the conversation with us on social media. We're on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod or on Instagram at FlixWatcher.
Hello, film fans. Our guests today are Andy and Sean. Over to you, please, Sean, to say hello to our listeners and tell them a little bit more about who you are and what you do, please.
Oh, my favourite bit. Hello, everyone. Thanks to you guys for having me back. But yeah, so one half of the Frame to Frame podcast with Andy, and I am a film journalist for the likes of Cineworld and an author of The Sound of Cinema, study of film music from its inception through to the modern day. And yeah, jack of all trades, master of none.
All of them. Master of all of them. Pick yourself up, mate.
There's probably some more I can get under my belt.
Well, you guys are returning guests, aren't you? I can't remember what films I meant to do that research. That's rudimentary bit of research before you we press record now.
We did Young Adult and Son of Rambo.
Ah, yes. And we've gone down the horror route for this episode. Is there any time with these episodes with Studio 666? I don't think there is. But I enjoyed recording them both, those previous ones. Let's see if Studio 666 will meet the heights of those ones. I'm guessing not really.
Before we've even had a synopsis, how dare we?
Before we've even had a synopsis. But you guys did obviously you do a Frame to Frame podcast, but you touched upon the Oscars. As we record this, the Oscars happened 3 days ago, and you seem quite happy with the whole Oscars ceremony in general. Is there any thoughts on that?
I mean, it could have gone worse, right? It
could have gone worse. Is that the best thing you can say about it? It could have gone worse.
I think that's the kindest thing anyone's said about the Oscars ever.
That's the Oscars, right? It's all self-congratulatory, but it's pageantry, and yeah, I'm all for it. But I think the right films won this year, really. Or the predictable films won this year, really. I think Past Lives was the best movie of last year, but hey, it got nominated, so I'll take that one.
Heck, I thought it was close, and that wasn't it. That might have been in the maybe foreign language for the previous year, owing to the release schedule. But Messi the dog was there with his bow tie, so I was happy. So
his little applause.
With his fake clapping.
Yeah.
everyone seems in uproar. Messi wasn't actually clapping, and I was like, when I saw that, I was like, "There's no way he's clapping. Dogs' arms just don't do that."
Don't ruin it.
When you see the behind-the-scenes pictures, people were livid.
And the suggestion that it was a pre-record, I'm like, of course it was a pre-record. They're not going to sit live and get some dogs' arms and do it live.
I mean, you know, John Cena wasn't really naked, right?
I saw the behind-the-scenes image of that. Yeah. Yeah.
And Danny DeVito was stood in a
hole.
Little hole. He's not actually that short.
It's like the forced perspective from Citizen Kane. That's how they used to do it. Anyway. And the Hobbits.
I like your brain went to Citizen Kane. My brain went to Elf.
The whole spectrum of films.
Andy, anything more to add about Frame to Frame podcast and yourself?
So, we take two seemingly unconnected films and slam them together. So every week we take the most obscure theme we can find and just rattle on about 2 films for 45 minutes to an hour. We've been doing it for about 4 years. Is that when we started?
First lockdown, wasn't it? We started that as a means to keep chatting to each other, and it's just mushroomed since then. So,
yeah, we just released episode 182 at time of recording, and we didn't do a Blink theme, but there we are.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of ties in with, it could have been, we're talking about, obviously, music, we're talking about American rock bands today, and American rock band. That could have been a link to this episode.
Yes, it should have been. It should have been. It was musical. We talked about musicals set in Dublin, which was The Commitments and Sing Street. So it was musical in a way.
Well, tell us about the film we're talking about today, Andy. Why did you choose it? And then I'll get the timer up, in which you'll have 60 seconds to give us a synopsis.
So, truthfully, I chose it because I'd never seen it, despite being a massive fan of Foo Fighters. It came out just before Taylor Hawkins passed away, and I meant to catch up with it. And then after Taylor passed, I didn't really want to watch it. But then when I saw it on your list as an option to pick, being on Netflix, I thought, you know what, let's do it. Let's find a reason to watch this and to talk about it.
Okay, and your timer starts 60 seconds now.
So in an alternative universe where the Foo Fighters are creatively hampered, they go to a haunted house in Encino. And in that house, Dave Grohl, lead singer of the Foo Fighters, finds a basement wherein he ends up releasing a demon about the house, which is looking to try and get rid of the other band members just to feed its own addiction.
Very nice.
Pithy.
Lovely. 30 seconds. Okay, you said in your intro that you are a big Foo Fighters fan.
Yes.
Helen, Sean, where are you on the Foo Fighters spectrum?
I'm probably a casual. I'm certainly not a devotee. I like some of their stuff, and I think Dave Grohl comes across as a relatively upstanding chap amidst the rock and roll scene, and I think he's done some great work. But yeah, by no means am I dyed-in-the-wool Fooey, if that is a term.
Fooey.
I hope it is.
is that a term?
Hong Kong Fooey.
He really is a super guy.
Yeah. Hong Kong. Helen, before I go into some nonsense, Hanna-Barbera nonsense.
So yeah, the first 2 Foo Fighters albums were pretty big in my teenage years. Less so the more recent stuff, but I've seen them live. I've read Dave Grohl's book. They're all-round nice guys. Pat Smear is always turned out very finely as well. So yeah, I'm not a bigger fan as I used to be.
What does that mean?
He always makes an effort. You know,
He's a well-dressed gentleman.
Yeah, like he'll not say no to wearing some heels or some eyeliner if the occasion is there. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a bigger fan now, but you know, they're nice guys. Yeah, when obviously I heard the news about Taylor, it was really sad. Yeah, just kind of a lot of people I know are big fans, and it really upset them. I didn't know this existed. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and I kind of wish that maybe I still knew that. So yeah, I'm kind of interested because you said you hadn't seen it before, so I'd kind of like to hear your verdict as well. But yeah, Kobe, Foo Fighters fan?
Foo Fighters, so I'm looking back at discography. And
which is never a good sign.
I was going to say, do you not know?
No, because I don't. That's why I was looking back at
I can reel off the albums if you like and the years they were released.
No, don't get him doing that.
No, that's fine. I was, first, because when Helen said first 2 albums, and I remember for me, my main Foo Fighters album was There's Nothing Left to Lose. And I was like, I'm sure that's the 3rd one. And it was. So, but the Foo Fighters, The Colour of the Shape, was still very much in rotation, certainly when I was at university. And then it went to One by One, and then after that, kind of faded away. I saw them, I can't remember which album it was, I saw them at Leeds and or Reading Festival. I can't remember which one it was. I've been to both of them many times. And, just David Grohl comes across as the nicest person. Everyone ever says David Grohl, nicest guy in rock. And
it's trademarked,
he seems
I
that
think.
way. And,
it's his actual catchphrase.
Yeah. So they've kind of ebbed away just in terms of, I guess mainly because my music listening has kind of ebbed away as well. Like I've not listened to the last Red Hot Chili Peppers album, for example. I've just kind of got older and kind of moved away from that kind of stuff. But those first 3 albums are like stone cold classics for me. And, I love Everlong. The acoustic version of Everlong is like one of the favourite songs in the entire world. So it's nice to get a little nod for that in this.
Which was used as Monica and Chandler's wedding song in Friends as well.
Was it?
Yeah, there was an instrumental version there.
Arranged for guitar.
I think it was on strings.
Okay, that's probably why I didn't pick that up. Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah, it it's one of those things of you just notice oh yeah, that's Everlong, of course it is.
But this one, yeah, so I knew about Studio 666, like yourself, Andy, but I wasn't that keen on seeing it because I just thought that doesn't sound like it's going to be great. And then when Taylor died, I was like, yeah, that sounds like even less of an interesting proposition. But when I constructed this list, I thought, well, it's there on Netflix. Someone might want to pick it. And then, lo and behold, you come along.
Took the bait.
So you took the bait. So you've never seen this. You're a big Foo Fighters fan. Does this hold up?
It was exactly what I wanted it to be. It was kitsch. It was cheesy. I'm not going to go to bat for it. But yeah, it was. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's a Dave Grohl vanity project that he managed to rope some mates into, and
his mates happen to be his band members.
Yeah, and Lionel Richie.
Why is he there?
And Jeff from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah,
nice to have really rich mates in your speed dial, and it's just come down to this mansion, and just turn up and arse around a little bit.
Well, I mean, yeah, and they did it both sort of pre and during COVID. It was in the same place where they recorded, I think, their previous album at the time of filming. So Dave Grohl's always been adjacent to sort of Hollywood, being friends with Jack Black. I mean, Jack Black and Kyle Gass, Tenacious D were in the Learn to Fly video. Dave Grohl played the devil himself in Tenacious D's Pick of Destiny. Like, he's always been adjacent to film. He was in Bill and Ted, the latest Bill and Ted one. So, it makes sense that he'd want to move into that as a creative medium.
When you say a vanity project, it sounds like it's fueled by his ego, but we've all said about David Grohl being a nice guy in rock. That doesn't seem to tally with that side of things. So was this self kind of like perpetuated, or was it like someone said to them, hey, we've got an idea, I think you guys would be good for it, and they were like, fuck it, let's do it? Or was it like, I really got this idea, I need to do it?
So it was based on a story by Dave. So he was the instigator on this. So I think what happened was he went, oh yeah, I kind of want to go and make a movie. And then got some screenwriters in, then got a director in, and, well, ostensibly got a director in, and got some money for some gory special effects. And, it walks the line of horror and comedy. It also falls into the trap of not really being scary enough to be a horror, not really being funny enough to be a comedy. But it was kitsch and cheesy, and I think it was a love letter to a specific genre of films. And like I said, I'm not going to go to bat for it massively, but I think being a pre-existing Foo Fighters fan certainly helps.
Yeah, if you were not interested in Foo Fighters in any way, shape or form, if you had no idea who Dave Grohl was or his kind of like tongue-in-cheekness, then you'd be like, why am I watching this exactly? I don't know. Sean, Helen, thoughts?
Helen, you want to go? I need to muster myself.
This is it sponsored by Doritos? Because there are a lot of Doritos in this. This is an hour and 46 minutes. This could have been a 10-minute YouTube sketch easily.
Has he been on Saturday Night Live, Dave Grohl? It sounds like something he would have done.
I would think he
they've
must have been. Yeah, he's been as the band.
Whether he's hosted it or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, I felt embarrassed for the rest of the band. Like, Dave looks like he's kind of having a good time, but I know the band are acting that they don't want to be there because they don't want to be in the haunted house. But I also kind of get the feeling as they're not quite sure why they're there. And like, he eats Chris. It's Chris he eats, isn't it? Is it Chris on the bottom?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, I don't want that to happen. Yeah, I don't know. If it had been a hell of a lot shorter, it might have been a bit more entertaining. But I have more questions than kind of answers. And yeah, it just kind of made me a little bit sad as well. That obviously this was probably like one of the last kind of video things that Taylor would have been part of as well. I think maybe there is a bit of an audience with it, and some of the the chainsaw is kind of probably up there for like gore heads for something that is completely gory.
Oh, it's hilarious
and ridiculous.
I love that bit.
So there's those kind
Which
of bits.
chainsaw bit when they're having sex? You mean?
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
chainsaw
through the
bit,
bed.
Yeah,
Yeah, through the bed
Yeah.
and through the face. And
So
then,
this-
and then through the body, yeah.
Extreme gore, a really, really long song, and uncomfortable acting from rock stars. So there's like this weird kind of thing going on. I don't think I was entirely sold. I think it's like Dave Grohl, like he's got like so many amazing like things that have actually happened to him that he could have made into a really interesting kind of short film or story, or kind of like elaborated on them. This is not it.
Have you steadied yourself enough, Sean?
Yeah, just about. A couple of things. I'm evidently intimidated and outnumbered by the amount of Foo Fighters knowledge that's flying around here. You know those GIFs where it's got a close-up of a dog and there's loads of algebra that's been overlaid as if the dog's trying to work out maths. So I feel like a little bit like that.
So you're the dog in this scenario.
I am the dog. I am messy. And also, I'm annoyed at Andy because he hijacked You Air Force One my line, which is it's not scary enough to be a horror and it's not funny enough to be a comedy. So this is like a classic, like frame to frame thing. But I totally agree. I was just baffled. If it's a horror film, it's meant to be scary. If it's a comedy, it's meant to be funny. And we all know horror comedies are really hard to get right. And one of the few, I know, Andy, you don't agree with me on this, one of the few to get that right is Gremlins, because it's genuinely anarchic and funny, but it's also genuinely scary and creepy at the same moment. It's a hard balance to walk, and I don't think they got it. I didn't get the joke. I was like, what? I was like, what are they trying to say in this movie? Are they trying to say that prior to Taylor Hawkins' death that the Foo Fighters all hated each other, and were they trying to basically work it out in like a metatextual way through a film? It's like a bit of a strange extended gag that doesn't work. Or I just haven't got it.
Yeah, you haven't got it.
Yeah, I
think you've missed that one.
Yeah, well, that's the premise, that they're all hate each other and that Dave Grohl wants to become this autocratic demon who just runs everything.
You've missed the joke completely. So, jokes are always better when they're explained, right?
Well, I'm glad you're going to explain it.
I mean, they're creatively stifled, so they're going off into this ridiculous house which Jeff Garlin has kind of honey trapped them into going to, and Dave is struggling and he wants to try and recreate some of the great songs that he's done in the past. Like Everlong got a little nod in there, All My Life got a little nod in there,
but he's evidently doing it at their expense. They're not happy with it as depicted in the film. They're not happy
as that goes on, yeah, because that's the demon taking over.
No, but they're not happy at the beginning, really. They don't really want to be there. Like, insular isn't the word. It felt like a really insular in-joke I was not in on. And yeah, not funny, not scary. And I don't want to, Dave Grohl does a passable job because he gets all the materials. Are
you about to piss on my chips?
Some of the acting, in inverted commas, from some of the other band members.
Acting.
It's not acting, no.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like Pat Smear overacting.
He doesn't overact, he underacts. He just barely acts.
No, there's some reaction shots where Pat Smear just kind of looks at the camera completely.
He doesn't know what to do.
My God. It's hilarious.
I love him though.
I think Taylor got the joke.
Did he though?
Well, I think if we're ranking the people that were engaged with the film, Dave is obviously the
sliding
number one.
scale.
I think then Taylor's underneath. I think Pat's all the way at the bottom because he has absolutely no idea what's going on.
Wasn't Pat? He was the one sleeping in the kitchen, right? Pat, wasn't he?
Yes.
So I mean, I think
in his pajamas.
Look, everyone's in on the joke, but I think what transpired is there's different levels of acting ability, and
it's like the kids from Harry Potter.
And yeah, exactly. And Dave Grohl isn't the best actor in the world either, and he was headlining the whole thing, right? So from that top of the pyramid down, it just doesn't really work, and you don't buy into all these. You just don't buy into what's going on there. I didn't buy into it. I was like, what's happening here? Yeah. I noticed that Taylor Hawkins didn't speak for a good half hour. And I just wondered if they kind of went through all the band members and thought, okay, we need to try and distribute the acting chops to people. And maybe Pat and the guy with the glasses, I can't remember what his name is, who had sex with the next door neighbour.
Oh,
got
chainsawed.
Came out on top.
Yeah,
is he actually in the band?
Yeah, he's the keyboardist.
Well, this is another thing. I thought, in my mind, there's only 4 members in Foo Fighters. And to see keyboardist, I was like, when did this happen? But yeah, anyway, the acting does kind of just really, I was like, oh mate, come on. just lets it down on every single level.
There was a running joke which I found really funny, which again relates to Taylor Hawkins, which is as Dave Grohl gets possessed by this demon, he alternates the kind of counting music on the drum. It's like, right, why don't you count in odd numbers? That made me laugh because you can see it completely screws with Taylor Hawkins' kind of like equations. Like, hang on, why do you want me to do that? And then he flips it, and Dave Grohl flips it back. It's like, no, don't worry about odd numbers anymore. That made me laugh. I thought that was quite sharp, but yeah.
I enjoyed the quip of, obviously drummers normally do 1, 2, 3, 4. And as soon as Dave said do 5, 6, 7, 8, you went, what, like a dancer?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah. Drummers have got the first 4 numbers, and dancers have got the next 4 numbers.
Yeah. Only good joke in the film for me.
No. Missed the jokes.
When I saw the setup, I thought, because what's the name of the band? What's Trent Reznor's band? What's that called?
Nine Inch Nails.
9 Inch Nails.
So they recorded an album, at least, in the house where Sharon Tate was murdered.
Yeah.
That was going through my head when this was on. I was like, are they purposely gone into house to maybe not play homage, but like think about it?
Dave went as well.
It was Dave Grohl there as well, was he?
Dave went there as well, and he was like, nah, man, this is too weird. I don't want to hang around.
And even like after a while, Trent Reznor's like, yeah, this is dark. I need to let's burn this.
And that's Trent Reznor saying that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, if Trent Reznor thinks something's dark, then the guy who made the downward spiral.
So this for me is like, had that kind of tinge to it, which wasn't quite the nicest way to go into it. But yeah, I think for me it's just all the acting. And it was nice. I mean, Jeff Garlin's not the best actor either, but he went OTT. In Curb, it works perfectly well because he's going toe-to-toe with Larry David. And the situations here are ludicrous. But...
yeah, what about this is realistic?
And the way he explodes in Curb makes sense. But when he's going like nonsensical here, I was like, why are you doing this? This makes no sense. It was the acting really for me, because that kind of just takes away from the horror. And this is where, and Helen's heard me say this before, and everyone who's listened to this podcast more than once has heard me say this before, when people talk about horror and they just love all horror, this is my kind of like non-horror where the acting is just atrocious. Just because they want to get some gore in there and show some intestines going out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it just doesn't...
And a chainsaw through the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a chainsaw through the head and like the head exploding when a car goes over it. And I'm like, that's just not...
They think...
I don't
My
get where the
favourite part
setup
about that is the head clearly explodes before the car goes over it. I love that.
But again, they should...
The body exploded and then the car ran over the remains.
Yeah, they should have made a joke about that. They should have made a joke about the slightly shonky quality, but it's almost like they don't know whether to play it straight or whether to play it for irony, and they can't get that balance right. That was my fundamental problem with it.
Anything else, guys, you want to say before we head to the scores?
I had a question. This got me thinking. Have there ever been successful musicians that have transitioned into the world of acting into a top level?
Jack Black.
Slade in Flame.
Chris Christopherson, as we said.
Yes.
Sting.
Yeah.
No, not Sting. Sting wasn't a
not Sting.
good singer anyway.
What in his pants in June? Where his gold pants, his wings.
I was thinking, no, his appearances in Quadrophenia.
Oh, yes, true, yeah.
In Only Murders in the Building, season 1. And what do you say?
I don't know about
Andy?
David Bowie. I love him, but his acting is very...
The Man Who Fell to Earth?
He's basically playing himself in that. There's a fine line between him just kind of being David
does
Bowie
Jack
on
Black.
screen.
Flea
in
acting,
Back to the
obviously.
Future 2.
And Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You're forgetting that.
Steve Van Zant's the correct answer, though, right? He's in Sopranos.
Little Stevie. And also Lilyhammer, which wasn't that good
Yes.
either. But yeah, I guess Steve Van Zandt is the best proponent of that.
And Lady Gaga. I was going to say, like, I quite enjoyed her, but she's only really been in one film.
Hold on.
Zooey Deschanel.
The correct answer is Ryan Gosling.
But he was never really a pop star. He was someone who could sing and dance. This is
Oh, you said a pop star.
well,
okay, you said musician.
Had a career, established career, doing music well, and then managed to also do the acting well on more than one occasion.
Zooey
That
Deschanel.
wasn't just a fluke.
J-Lo.
Tom Waits.
Gigli. No, I'm not having...
No, obviously you could have cherry picked the
It's
worst
like saying
ones, aren't you?
Madonna. Like, no.
Yeah, this is where it's like the acting has been like, oh wow, actually this is something not the same
Hold on.
thing over again.
Correct answer is Will Smith.
Oh.
On to the scores.
You keep that name out of your mouth.
It's Will Smith. The answer is Will Smith. He's won an Oscar. He did Wild Wild West.
Can we hear that? That's the sound of a line being drawn in the sand.
What? That's the correct answer. He's won an Oscar. He's won many. He must have won at least Grammys. He's had
Barbara Streisand.
So do you mean Barbara Streisand? That's a licorice pizza joke.
I hated licorice pizza.
There you go. Got Haim. I'm interested in their career. Anyway, after my correct answer being Will Smith, yeah, let's go to the scores.
I'm Sam Clements, host of the 90 Minutes or Less Film Festival, another podcast in the Stripped Media family, a podcast that celebrates movies under 90 minutes long. Each episode, I'm joined by a special guest who selects a movie to join our prestigious lineup. Past guests have included fellow Stripped Media family members Martin and Sam from Song by Song, and Kobe from Flixwatcher, and Dave from The Wire Stripped. Search for us now on the app you're currently listening to this podcast, or join us at 90minfilmfest.com.
Welcome to the scores. They haven't changed since the last time you were on, so they're always out of 5. You can have those decimal places if you wish, and we'll start with you, please, Andy, with your recommendability.
I would give this a 4. I'd recommend it massively, with caveats of, do you like the Foo Fighters? How up are you on like kitsch 80s horror? But I'd give it a solid 4.
Sean.
The look on Sean's face says no.
I wouldn't give it a 4. I'd probably give it a 1. That's just all right. Bearing in mind that for Foo Fighters neophytes, if that's the right word, I might bump it up an extra. I'll give it a 2, and that's being generous.
What do you mean by neophyte? What word are you trying to say?
Actually, I don't know what word I was trying to say there. I think I'm getting my grammar mixed up. So for Foo Fighters devotees, it's a 2.
Even for Foo Fighters devotees?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hello.
You're a bad man.
As someone who would say that of a time I've been quite a fan, I'm also going to give it a 2. Yeah, this is just embarrassing for everyone involved. There's no good way I can recommend this. Like, if you're watching it after listening to this and you've never seen it, then that's on you. I didn't say you should watch it.
No, I did.
Oh, dear. I'm looking at the word neophyte, and it means a new convert to a religion. So, no, that's not what I meant earlier. So, yeah.
Well, so I was watching this with my wife, who is not a Foo Fighters devotee. However, she is coming to see Foo Fighters with me later on this year. And number one, she said, you don't have to watch some shit for podcasts. And then as it was going on, she was watching the TV more than she was reading her book. So I think the nonsense and the ridiculousness of it all managed to convince her. But she's got questionable tastes anyway, so...
How did she react to the chainsaw through the face sequence?
She laughed, and then she laughed less when I rewound it and watched it again.
Why did you watch it again?
It's funny.
Did you go frame by frame?
That'd be a good name for a podcast.
It would actually, wouldn't it? Yeah. Someone should do that.
I just had a text saying, stop mugging me off on a podcast.
Oh, she can hear you?
She's in the bathroom, so she's having a bath.
Okay, so I'm going to go for it. Look, the big caveat is, are you a fan of Foo Fighters? If so, what's the film? I'm going to give it 4 stars like Andy. If you're not, then, don't bother in any way, shape or form. Repeat viewing score, Andy.
I'd watch it again. I'd very happily watch it again. I'm going to go with 4 again.
Sean.
Not only
the exasperation on Sean and Helen's face it makes me want to give it 5.
Yeah, not only do I not want to watch it again, I want to forget that I ever watched it in the first place. So I'll give it a 1. So, yeah.
Helen.
Yeah, I'm not watching this again, a 1.
Will I watch it again?
It's the pressure now, isn't it? The peer pressure.
It's like 1.5. I just can't see myself watching it again. If they did another film, I'd like to see how that works. But not, yeah. I'll go 1.5, just to be a bit more lenient than you two guys. Small screen score, Andy.
I don't think it needs to be seen on the big screen. I think it works on teeny tiny screen, mostly because the direction is pretty flat. So I'm going to go for 5.
Sean?
Yeah, actually, I'm inclined to agree with that. I think that small screen is best. It's justified. Yeah, I'll probably give it a 4 on that. So, yeah.
Helen?
Did this get a release? Do we know? Was it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Small release.
I mean,
I remember not seeing it.
yeah, I mean, it probably would be fun in company because everyone would just go, "Oh fuck, this is shit."
Except me.
And then there'd be Andy cheering. No, I think people would have a good time. But saying that, I think it's fine for a small screen, so 5.
Yeah, I'm going to go 5 as well. I think potentially the most disappointing thing for me is that there wasn't any new big song from this.
Yeah.
And that might have elevated it to be something you want to watch in the cinema with a bigger sound.
Dave Grohl did record an album for Dream Widow, which was the band that were murdered at the start. So there is a metal album for Dream Widow that you can find on music players of your choice.
But it's not in the film.
That's interesting.
No.
Sean's vindicated. Okay, so 5 there. Engagement score, Andy.
I mean, I was well engaged with it. I feel like I'm the one positive voice. I wouldn't want to turn it off if it came on again. So by that reason, I'll go with 4.
Sean.
Sean would break his TV instead of watching it again.
Yeah. Where I pay my TV license. I mean, it was on.
I wouldn't admit to that, mate.
It's true. I was playing this and I went out of the room to make a cup of tea without pausing it, which I think is the most damning thing I can say. I let the film run because I wasn't actually bothered about pausing.
Hold on, but were you alone when you were watching it? Or
Yes, I was,
okay,
yeah.
Sure.
And I went to make a cup of tea, which was infinitely more perilous and exciting and challenging, whereas I'd say 1 is short.
How are you making your tea if it's perilous?
Well, it says a lot about the film because my tea making is not perilous or exciting, so it says a lot about the movie. So, yeah.
Helen?
Yeah. Even an hour and 46, it's a stretch of an idea that Reese also joined partway through and frequently asked how much longer of this is left. He was like, "Why are you watching this?" I'm like, "It's for the podcast. Like, this is the only reason I'm
It's
watching
homework.
Is this
That's what
the
it
Foo
is.
Fighters? Yes, it's the Foo Fighters. What is going on? I don't really know. There's still 20 minutes left. I'm going to give it 2.5 down the middle. Like, they should have wrapped this up in under an hour, really, I think.
I'm going to go 3.6 because I had no idea where it was going. So I was happy to let it do what it's going to do to then say I'm not going to watch that again. So, at least whilst it was on, some of the kills were interesting. Not that they were a bit silly. I was surprised that Jeff Garlin came back and they had that fight. That was quite funny.
And the vomiting
What
as
did you
well. I
expect?
don't like vomiting.
Yeah, it was,
Stupid kills and nonsensical cults and
What?
weird chants and incantations. Yeah, well, that's what it is.
What was Dave Grohl trying to say about himself at the end? I've sold my soul to the devil by going solo. Is he making a meta commentary about himself, which again goes against what we think of him?
No, there's no subtext here.
Well,
Stop
there must
trying to
be.
read subtext where there is none. There isn't.
Well, that's
Maybe
It's about a band going into a haunted house and then killing.
they should have invented a band. I
Yeah.
think because it's the
Yeah.
Foo Fighters, they could have basically Dave Grohl could have made up a band without the actual Foo Fighters, or maybe one of them, and had actors in it, and there not be the Foo Fighters. I think that's where we're like, but the Foo Fighters all like each other. I can't see Dave Grohl killing his bandmates. It's just I can't get behind that.
There was one scene where I thought that might be the real Dave Grohl. We have this view of him being the nicest guy in rock, but then when the food deliveries come in and he gives the cold shoulder to the delivery guy, I was like,
Will
that
Forte.
might actually be the real Dave Grohl there. That's the veil might have slipped somewhat.
Well, we have an overall score of 3.10000, which is
not bad.
hey, it's not that bad. It's not bad at all. I think that's probably about right.
Glad to have boosted those odds.
Yeah, that's entirely down to you, Andy. It's not my team.
My average score is 3.52. Yours, Andy, was 4.25. Seems a bit excessive. And Sean and Helen were both about the 2.5 mark. So I think there will be people who just like enjoy it for what it is, but they will definitely have to be Foo Fighters fans. I can't see anyone who turns this on and watches it thinking it's a new Sam Raimi film, thinking it's like the next evil. Because it was pulling from the Book of the Dead, right? As well, in places. So it's just like, come on, guys. Andy, Sean, thank you very much for joining us. Can you tell us where we can find you guys online? Tell us about your podcast and say goodbye to the listeners.
Well, thank you very much for having us on. It's a great pleasure to come back. I mean, you've both been on our podcast separately. So our podcast is Frame to Frame. Like I said earlier, we've done, at time of recording, 182 episodes, and we take two seemingly unconnected films and slam them together. We can be found pretty much everywhere as at Frame to Frame Pod across the different social media sites. So just feel free to hit us up there. From there, you'll also be able to find sort of me separately and Sean separately. Sean will mostly tweet, or X, I guess is now the word, about film soundtracks. I'll mostly go on about basketball. So we'll try and... So we'll try and like we keep the film, the pod separate from the basketball chat and all that nonsense. So
I think that's comprehensive out there, Sean. Guys, so thank you very much. See you next time.
Thanks for coming on. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty tunes and Rockwood Audio's editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.